Okay, another quick point I wanted to make, kind of more as background also, is I wanted to draw your attention to an article that we sent out, I think, in Provider Course 1, and I can include it this time too if you need it, but it's Michael Meaney's work, and the reason why I think this is so important, we didn't get to talk about it too much in the Provider Course 1, is that Michael Meaney did that brilliant work with rats, and if you recall, he had the baby rat pups get separated from their mothers for a smallish period of time and then return to their mothers. And the assumption was going to be that it's the leaving the parent and then returning to the parent that was the stress-provoking and actually was the problematic experience that would cause that attachment disruption. And what his research found is it's not so much the separation, but it was the reunion. That the mothers that did a lot of licking and grooming and welcoming in and comforting and soothing of the pups, actually those pups ended up having those homeostatic wires downloaded. They did not have the kind of actually psychological and medical problems in adulthood, physical problems, that the rat pups whose mothers did not do much licking and grooming. So it was this reunion behavior that's similar to what Mary Ainsworth found that really made the big difference, because disruptions happen. I mean, attachment disruptions happen, but it's the reunion that seemed to help download those circuits of secure attachment and help it's like an inoculation against stress. We're less likely to have more of those 4 and 5 circuits downloaded when we have that kind of secure attachment. So, and that kind of licking and caregiving by the parent. But I think the really important thing that Michael Meaney said is that it's adaptive and it's based on evolution. So the mom rats that didn't do a lot of licking and grooming, that didn't do that wonderful caregiving for their distressed pups, it was actually adaptive because those moms had also, more of those stress hormones themselves. They had more of those, let's say in EBT terms, 4 and 5 circuits downloaded already in their brains. They were already, in a way, they were priming their babies for a stressful life. They were helping their babies, in essence, be able to be prepared for a stressful life. So the reason why I think this is so important is because we have that tendency to judge ourselves, judge our parents, judge others, just be judgmental about these kinds of things. But in essence, it's all, the intention is always that positive intention of survival of the species. And, there's something adaptive about insecure attachment. In that if you're going to be living in a stressful environment, you better be hypervigilant. You better be on the lookout for bad things happening. You better not be in peace and joy all the time, because that would be downright dangerous. You're going to get eaten. And so I think the reason why I like to think about this is because I think it's so important to say to our participants, you know what, this is a good thing actually. It's kind of like what we're saying in that stage 1 of our survival circuit work. Love the circuit, because this circuit's only intention is to keep you safe. And probably it worked for a while there in your life, and it certainly was the best that little baby's brain or little child's brain could come up with at the time. Love that circuit because, again, purely good intention of keeping you here on the planet in one piece. And so no matter how much pain and suffering these circuits give us in our adult life, I think starting from that context of loving the circuit is really important. And what we learn, of course, later on, and if it's true in all the neurobiological studies, is it's that context of acceptance, compassion, self-compassion, and love, even though that's such a big word, but love, which opens up the possibility for the neurobiological change. And again, you see that in all creatures. So I just wanted to make sure we remember that one from Michael Meaney's work. And the other thing I wanted to mention, again, just kind of background things, is that when we rewire for a secure attachment, it reminds me, do you remember back in those early psychology classes, I can't remember the context, but they had those Bobo dolls where you punch the doll over and it popped back up because it was weighted in the bottom. I always think of those Bobo dolls when we're securely attached, because we can get punched down by life. I mean, life is going to punch us down. We all know that, right? So we'll get punched down, but we'll be able to go back up into homeostasis. Boom, boom. It just happens kind of naturally. We have the inner resources and tools to move there, and we know how to get support from the outside world to move back to homeostasis. When we have those disruptions in attachment, we're the Bobo doll that goes down and can't get back up, or it can get back up a little, but then kind of stays stuck, kind of in this off-kilter, out of balance, painful, lots of suffering state. And of course, what we know, that's our survival circuits at work in those core unreasonable expectations that get activated, and the mood state that gets stuck. But what I wanted to mention is, so just as a reminder, as we do this work, it's not like we're not going to go down. It's that we're going to find ourselves, and even maybe some of our old circuits might get activated, like our old survival circuits, but we're going to find ourselves, in a very natural way, not even having to work very hard at it, although sometimes I notice I still have to work hard, darn it, but moving back up to homeostasis. And some of those downloaded circuits that we're working on, I am worthy, or I am not bad, or I do exist. Some of these downloaded circuits, the more we grind them in and the more we practice our tools, the more that they help, boom, bring us back up into homeostasis. And I think lastly, I just wanted to do the reminder that the more we can keep just what Erin was saying in her lovely talk on prefrontal cortex, the more we can keep our prefrontal cortex online, which means I always think of warm heart, clear mind, warm heart, clear mind, clear my mind, warm my heart, get that vagal break going, that means warm heart, and clear my mind, which means kind of, bring myself to a one, basically. Then what we're doing in that moment, no matter what happens in the moment, everything's going to be okay. And practicing seeing that participant, holding that participant. And I had such a profound experience with Laurel this week. I wanted to share it really quickly and say that, because this doesn't happen for me very often, where I get to be the participant and another provider holds me in that state. But I was just doing a little bit of my personal work. I was looking at a survival circuit. I get my safety from panic, which, by the way, woo, that was a big one. But and Laura was just modeling, what she would do with a participant at that time, and I was just in my body, in that kind of empty, weird space you go into when you're doing your deep body-based work. And I just heard her voice, and I felt her presence, and I just had such a strong body experience of being held in that moment. And there wasn't a lot she was doing. It was the repetition of the gentle languaging, and it was the pause and a sense of holding, and then a sense of support, like a gentle support as I moved up from 4. I was probably, at 4, but I could peer down into the 5. I could see that panic, 2, 3, 2, 1. It's almost like I could feel her holding me up there. So it was a great example of me, of what we're doing and how important it is, because again, we're using our own brain, really, in that dyadic attunement to help create that internal attunement that we're working on strengthening.